Yeah, so welcome, everyone, whether you're joining us in person or online on YouTube. It's our Sunday evening guided meditation. And so, as per tradition, we'll begin with a little bit of chanting. Do something slightly different, perhaps, is tonight we'll chant from the dark brown volume of the two chanting books. We'll be chanting part of what's normally done in the morning, during the morning chanting, and it's called the Salutation to the Triple Gem. And that begins on page 9 in the dark brown volume. Page 9. And it's in the Pali and the English, line by line. And these reflections, they're wisdom teachings. These are really going into the psychology and wisdom teachings of the Buddha that he handed down, which are really the massive part of what he left us. And so I thought we would chant that. So it's meant just to be thoughts for reflection. And then after that, after we chant that, we'll go into a guided meditation. I'll lead a guided meditation. And then at the end of the evening, at around 8:25, we'll close with one more reflective chant and the closing homage, and wrap up at about 8:30. So. Andamayang ratanataya panabhagatayo cheva sangvega parikitana patancha banamase. Now let us chant our salutation to the Triple Gem and a passage to arouse urgency. Buddha susudo karuna manavo. The Buddha, absolutely pure, with ocean-like compassion, Yojanta Sudha Bharanyana Lochano, possessing the clear sight of wisdom, Loka Swapapu Pakilesa Gatako, destroyer of worldly self-corruption, Vandami Buddhang Ahamadarena, devotedly indeed the Buddha I revere. Dhammo Padipo Viyata Sasatuno, the teaching of the Lord like a lamp. Yo Magapaka Matabeda Binnako, illuminating the path and its fruit, the deathless. Lokutaro yojata data dipano, that which is beyond the conditioned world. Vandami dhammang ahamadarena, devotedly indeed the Dhamma I revere. Sangha suketa bhayati keta sanhito, the Sangha, the most fertile ground for cultivation. Yadita santo sugata nubodhako, those who have realized peace, awakened after the accomplished one. Lola Pahino Ariyo Sumedaso, noble and wise, all longing abandoned. Vandami Sanghang Ahamadarena, devotedly indeed the Sangha I revere. Ijeva me kanta bipujanayakan watutayang vandayata bisankatang. This salutation should be made to that which is worthy. Punyang mayayang mamasa bupadawa mahontu veda sapabhavasiddhya
Through the power of such good action, may all obstacles disappear. Ida tatagato loke yupanno arahang samma sambuddho. One who knows things as they are has come into this world, and he is an arahant, a perfectly awakened being. Dhammo jate sito niyaniko upasamiko parinibbaniko sambodhagami sugata pavedito. Purifying the way leading out of delusion, calming and directing to perfect peace, and leading to enlightenment. This way he has made known. Mayang tang dhammang Cittaviveka janama. Having heard the teaching, we know this. Cittaviveka, birth is dukkha. Jara dukkha, aging is dukkha. Maranam dukkha, and death is dukkha. Soka parideva dukkha domana supaya sapi dukkha. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are dukkha. Apiyehi sampayogo dukkha. Association with the disliked is dukkha. Biyehi vipayogo dukkha. Separation from the liked is dukkha. Yampi jam nalapati dampi dukkha. Not attaining one's wishes is dukkha. Sankitena panchupadana kanda dukkha. In brief, the 5 focuses of identity are dukkha. Sayatidam. These are as follows. Rupupadana kando, attachment to form. Vedanupadana kando, attachment to feeling. Sanyupadana kando, attachment to perception. Sangarupadana kando, attachment to mental formations. Vinyanupadana kando, attachment to sense consciousness. Ye samparinyaya, for the complete understanding of this. Dharamano so bhagava evam bahulam savake vineti. The Blessed One in his lifetime frequently instructed his disciples in just this way. Evam bhagajapanassa bhagavato savakesu anusasani bahula pavatati. In addition, he further instructed, Rupam anicam, form is impermanent. Vedana anicca, feeling is impermanent. Sanya anicca, perception is impermanent. Sankhara anicca, mental formations are impermanent. Rupam anatta, form consciousness is not self. Rupam anatta, form is not self. Vedana anatta, feeling is not self. Sanya anatta, perception is not self. Sankhara anatta, Mental formations are not self. Vinyanang anatta. Sense consciousness is not self. Sabbe sankhara anicca. All conditions are transient. Sabbe dhamma anattati. There is no self in the created or the uncreated. Demayang vatinna majatiya jara maranena. All of us are bound by birth, aging, and death. So kehi paridevehi dukehi domana sehi upaya sehi. By sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Dukkhatina dukkhaparita. Bound by dukkha and obstructed by dukkha. Apevanam mimasa kevala sadukkha kandasa antakiriya panyayetati. Let us all aspire to complete freedom from suffering. We'll stop there.
So make ourselves comfortable for meditation. Whatever posture you find supportive, whether that's in a chair, on a bench, on a cushion. And whatever way we are sitting, it's good to try and find a posture that can be sustained for a relatively long period of time. But of course, if we become uncomfortable to the point where we think we might be hurting the body, then of course the wisdom tells us to shift and to move, mindfully. Adjust our posture, not just grit our teeth and potentially hurt ourselves. I think most of us find it supportive to begin a meditation by taking some time to pay attention to the posture. And this is, in and of itself, is a mindfulness exercise. We can call it a preliminary, but in fact it's already establishing mindfulness. I really encourage all of us to not think of it as separate. Aligning the body in a way that is upright yet not tense. So we're not leaning forward or back, side to side. Because when we do that, it creates extra tension. We're using extra muscular energy unnecessarily. So it's good to just find that sort of sweet spot where when we're not leaning. Also the angle of the head, to not have our chin dipping down, because the head is so heavy that if we do that, then the muscles that are going to counterbalance that, especially in the back of the neck, will be unnecessarily engaged. That goes for tilting the head in any direction. And try and imagine our ear canal lining up with the center of the shoulder and the center of the hip socket, so that if we had a plumb line along the side of our body, and if we could see, we would have all of those points lined up. Ear, shoulder, hip. And then the body naturally has the curves that fill in those gaps. There's the natural curves of the body. The spine is not straight from the side. It's not meant to be. We can bring a sense of poised alertness to the body. It's relaxed, and yet it has a poised quality. Some people refer to as relaxed attention. Not slumping. And now, before I begin giving more detailed meditation instruction, let's take a few minutes to sweep through the body from top to bottom, or from bottom up, from the crown of the head down to the toes, down to the fingers, or vice versa, from the toes and fingers up to the crown of the head. Just sweep our attention slowly, moving from place to place and checking for any unnecessary tension. So there's a difference between attention and tension. So that we hopefully can establish a posture that's using just enough energy to sustain this poised, alert posture. So I'll go into silence, and we can just do this in our own time, and we can do it if we move faster than maybe other people. It's okay, we can just keep going back and forth until I give the next instruction up and down the body. This is also a very useful meditation object. If we encounter any part of the body that is more tense than necessary, then obviously we just consciously release in that area. Consciously relax. Where there's holding, then we release. Quite normal for us to experience our attention during this exercise, to experience that attention being pulled away generally through thinking. But we don't need to follow that. As soon as we notice, if that has happened, we can just bring our attention back to the body. Gently. Now I suggest that we now intentionally place our attention on the breathing process of the body without consciously or intentionally altering the breath, but just noticing through our awareness of the breath, the awareness of the breath entering the body, and the awareness of the breath leaving the body, so the in-breath and the out-breath. Whether it's shallow or deep, slow, quick. For now, let's just notice what it's doing. And we can place our attention whichever part of the body is most comfortable to do this exercise. Whether that's the abdomen, the rib cage, chest, throat, nostrils, wherever is easiest for us. And just like in the previous exercise, if our attention gets drawn away, as soon as we notice, then just return to that part of your body and the noticing of the in and out breath. So we'll do this for the next few minutes. because of the speed of the human mind and thinking, sustaining awareness of the entire breath can be challenging. Breath is not typically not particularly interesting, but in this way we're taking an interest in the movement of the breath. And so if sustaining the attention is challenging, then one thing that we can do is place little markers at the beginning, middle, and end of an in-breath, and then conversely at the beginning, middle, and end of an out-breath. So just consciously note the beginning and follow the breath to where you think is the middle. So you consciously, middle, and then end. And then as the breath turns around, note the beginning, middle, end. And sometimes this can be an aid in tuning in, further tuning in to the full body of the breath. Sometimes it's referred to the breath body, the entirety of the breath. And then after a while, that we find that we can let go of those markers. So we'll continue like that for another few minutes. At the beginning of the evening, we chanted, and I mentioned that these wisdom teachings. There was a lot in there, so I'm not going to review the whole thing, but speaking about the reflective aspect of this type of spiritual development. So this type of meditation, for instance, awareness of the breath is We could label it a calming exercise, calming process, tranquility. There's still going to be activity in the mind, but there is a calming trend within that, a movement towards more stillness. So using the analogy of water, is that if water is turbulent, rippling, wavy, turbulent, it's very difficult to see a reflection in the water. Whereas water that is more still, even if it's not perfectly still, you can start to see a reflection if you look down into it. The surface will offer a reflection. And often we can see into the water, into the depths of the water, however far that water allows us, if the water is calm. But here again, if the water is turbulent, stirred up, muddy, we can't see clearly. So I like to use that image in my own practice of, just these meditations of calming, particularly using the breath can be very calming. And then we can see more clearly. So one of the lines that was in the chanting was the wish, may all obstacles disappear. And this is not talking about just muddy water, it's the obstacles to our well-being. And using meditation as a tool for calming, and as also says in the chanting, calming and directing to perfect peace. So we can use that calm to reflect, to see if there are any obstacles to our well-being. Maybe at these moments we are perfectly well, a really full sense of well-being. And other times, maybe not. Is there a sense of lack or discontent, dis-ease, dissatisfaction, stress, anxiety? Or is there a sense of more calm, clarity, tranquility? So now as we continue with our meditation, don't be afraid to see things that maybe we don't want. If something does get revealed through the calm that's settling right now, is to not be shy, to just note that calmly. See what's there. Just like the pond with the calm water, maybe we'll see something down there that we don't think should be there. Something we don't want, but it's there. So we'll continue like this for a few minutes. obstacles disappear. It's a lovely wish that we chanted. And we can achieve that by applying effort, right effort, by seeing obstacles and letting go of the things that are causing the obstacle. As the Buddha pointed out in his teaching on the Four Noble Truths, that the cause of stress, discontent, sense of lack, dis-ease, the cause of this dukkha in the scriptural language, is there's grasping, there's a craving for something, craving for things to be other than the way they are, through either acquiring something or getting rid of something. He wasn't talking about the wholesome desires, the desires without that self-centered aspect. No, it was the self-centered, unnecessary craving, or craving for things which are really in the spectrum of unwholesome. And so it's very important for us to be aware of what we do see in our mind and heart, is to not miss the opportunity to notice whether there is a wholesome or unwholesome tone to it. Not to beat ourselves up if we see something unwholesome, but to see it, and I would suggest even to be glad that we've spotted it. The joy of seeing something that's causing us harm or creating an obstacle to our well-being. I think we're all familiar with the phrase, when maybe a good friend or a friend says, "Oh, you need to let that go. You need to let go of that." Easy word, it's not easy to do, but we're familiar with the concept. Things that bind us, obstruct peace. So once again, let's not be afraid of what we find in our meditation. We can apply the clarity of mind to seeing and letting go, loosening our grasp, or whatever it is we're clinging to, grabbing, craving, which is not wholesome. So we'll go into silence again, continue our meditation. it's helpful to see and see that distinction between wholesome wishes and desires and unuseful, self-centered, unwholesome craving. Just to investigate, use words like that to just investigate, see if we see a difference in desire. Desire to help and support, wish for wholesome things. Or is it just the craving to satisfy sense desire unnecessarily? Which is almost impossible, because no sooner, at least in my own experience, no sooner we feel like we've satisfied, then we want more. Before long. It can be quite endless. Instead of, do we have enough? So that sense of fullness, sense of contentedness. So we'll wrap up this formal meditation. Just perhaps something that was offered tonight is useful, and if not, just gently leave it aside. But encourage all of us to use the calm of the mind and heart to see if there are obstacles. So not just get stuck in the calm of the mind, but to see if the obstacles that are there are causing disturbance, and release them through wisdom teachings, through applying spiritual teachings to pull up the root of our distress, the root of our discomfort, so that it's not just when we're calming the body and mind through exercises like meditation, but there's a wisdom, there's a discernment that is developed so that those very causes drop away. So there's a lasting peace, not just a temporary peace of a meditation session, but there's a lasting sense of wellness, wholeness. Before we end the evening, we'll do one more chant, and that's on page 43 in English, Suffusion with the Divine Abidings. This is reflecting on loving kindness, not just reflecting on it, but spreading loving kindness, thoughts of compassion, thoughts of gladness at the good fortune of others, and thoughts of equanimity or balance. So page 43. let us make the four boundless qualities shine forth. I will abide, pervading one quarter with a heart imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with compassion. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with compassion, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with gladness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with gladness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with equanimity. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. We'll close with the closing homage, which is on page 16 in the same book, Pali English.
Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, Sangham Namami. I bow to the Sangha.
Just a gentle reminder for visitors who are here this evening with cars is that in about 15 minutes the bollards get put in the driveway that block cars from entering or exiting. So you might want not, maybe don't linger too long and get trapped in. So okay, drive safely.